Welcome to Wonder Women Who Build, the podcast where women lead boldly, build businesses that last, and forge relationships that truly matter. I'm your host, Carrie Moreau, business owner, relationship builder, proud roofing Wonder Woman, and someone who believes that success starts with a solid foundation in business and in life. Whether you're growing a company, leading a team, or just figuring out what's next, this space is for you. So thank you for hitting play. I'm so glad you're here. Before we dive in, I want to name my win of the week. And today it's less of a win and more of a recognition. So here we go. I'm still here. I'm still standing. I'm still showing up even when it's really heavy. This week, listeners, women just like you reached out with messages saying this podcast is helping them feel less alone, more capable, more courageous. And that matters to me. It reminds me that what we're building here is bigger than me and bigger than the hard moments that we're going to talk about today. So I've got my tissues ready. Maybe you should too. Let's get into it. So this episode is raw because leadership lately, and actually in the last 48 hours, has been really challenging. So I've experienced something that in all the years of entrepreneurship I've never experienced. And when this confronted me yesterday morning, what it pulled up in me was shame, fear, the imposter syndrome, and old stories about failure that I thought that I had closed those chapters never to be read again, but they're replaying. So what I have going on in my business right now is something that's probably going on in a lot of people's businesses because of what's happening in our financial climate. So we, in construction, we accept deposits. We do a good job, we finish the job, and then we accept final payment. And so through the process of that, one of the ways I explain the financial challenges of being a contractor is that we're a small bank. And what I mean by that is that we are using resources that we don't quite have yet in order to fund jobs that aren't paid in full. So the money floats through, and that's why I refer to it as cash flow. So if you're not a large business, your cash flow, is less commas and zeros behind it. But when you're a company the size of mine, running the jobs that we run, the financial constraints are very large. And also, this is the first time I've worked in this realm of entrepreneurship. So it's new, and I have great people supporting me and helping me run the financials of my business. But when a client decides that even though you've finished a job, you've installed materials that you've paid for the labor to finish the work, and you've passed all the inspections and you've done everything right. I've had 4 clients in the last 3 months who decided that they were not going to pay for various reasons. So what that did to my business is that it financially constrained us. Now, we have other jobs coming in. We have other things happening. So we're able to float that negative amount through our business. And some people describe it negatively, like robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's not one of those situations. It is funding jobs from the income coming in from new jobs. And it's just a constant cycle of money coming through and going out, and the wheels keep turning and you keep moving. And when the funds stop coming in, the cash flow is constrained. So then we have to pull from other resources. So whether we go to a credit line or we go to other funding that we have, we float that funding until the money comes in. So when the money doesn't come in and you floated it, everything starts to get tight. So that's why I'm referring to it as a constraint. We have supply houses that we have credit limits with. This is normal practice in the business. There are some contractors out there who are in a cash buying system. They've managed their business differently. Everyone has their own style of how they want to manage the financials in their business. But I started this company with $20,000 cash, and I've grown it from zero to, we're going to finish this year, our gross sales at $3 million. We've done really well. We've had 20% growth year after year. However, it hasn't taken very much to knock us off our feet. So I wouldn't say that we're down for the count, but this industry is tightening. So what is happening is that lots of supply houses are under the constraints of people being in positions like me. So roofers are not getting as many jobs in, clients aren't paying on time, things are being drug out. And it's just adding to the problem. And what happens with humans We all react in fear. So it causes fear. I mean, you see the chaos in the stock market. There's fear and everybody sells, right? And then it affects everyone. And there's people, they have deep pockets, they rush in during this time and become very, very rich. But if you don't have deep pockets, you have to manage the cash flow, figure out how to do it, and keep moving forward. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. And I'm doing it very well. I know that I am, because when I sit down with my financial advisors that work outside my business and they look at everything, there are things always that can be changed and modified to be better, but it's a constant moving, living, breathing entity. But what I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday, and I said, why do I feel this so deeply? Why is all this going on, knocking me in a way that's causing me to have all this negative thoughts circling through my brain about whether or not I know, basically like, who the hell do you think you are? I think I've mentioned that in another episode. Like, you don't know what you're doing. It's bringing up all this shame. Like, why is that happening? And she said, well, it's because your business is an infant. You have birthed it, you've brought it to life, you've watched it grow, but your infant isn't to the stage of business yet where it can speak for itself. So she was comparing this to the development of a child. So you have an infant, you have to protect it, you have to keep it close. And when your infant gets sick, if you're a parent and you're, or maybe you've had a puppy, whatever, this living, breathing entity can't speak to you about what's wrong. So when it can't speak to you about what's wrong, you can only diagnose the symptoms and try to make things better or more comfortable for your child. And that's why a lot of people, when they have babies that are ill and can't speak and tell you what's wrong, the parent feels responsible for what's happening to the child, right? So she was relating this in a way, I'm a mom, I can understand that. She said, this business is a child, it's an infant, it can't speak for itself. So you're taking the full responsibility of the symptoms that you're seeing and that's happening. And I'm like, makes a lot of sense. That's why I feel this so deeply. And that's why, like, even sitting here now, I am so intently stressed on what's going on in my business right now that my entire nervous system is tingling. Like, my spine feels kind of tingly all the way down to my arms. And I keep like adjusting my shoulders and it just creates so much physical energy of stress. And yes, I'm breathing, slowing down, taking my belly breaths. I avoided coffee this morning because I thought I was already amped up enough. I didn't need any more. But the feelings of shame and imposter syndrome are way, way elevated today. And it's really a lie, because so everything kind of unfolded yesterday. So today's the 48 hours. The day before yesterday, so today is what, Thursday? I don't have a watch on. Today's Thursday. So Tuesday was a great day. Wednesday was not. And that is the emotional roller coaster of being an entrepreneur. I was completely sideswiped. So to rewind a little bit, yes, I had these clients who decided not to pay, cash flow constraints. And also we didn't have a hurricane this year. And a lot of people are glad. And yes, I'm glad too. But with the hurricane comes some rain. It causes my business to act, to provide services to clients. Our sales, go up. We take care of people. We didn't have that happen this year. So we have less in sales. We're doing way more sales activity, but we're having less in sales. Plus, this time of the year, most people want to wait until January to make any big financial decisions. Plus, because of what's going on in the market, plus because of the fears just everywhere, it affects everybody. And so here I sit trying to figure out what we're going to do next. So we do have sales. Like, I could have come into the podcast and be like, here's my win. I landed a $200,000 contract this week. That should be my win. But it's not. It's not my win yet because it's not finalized. The client hasn't received their funds. There's caveats in there. It is committed business and it's going to land inside of my bank account, but it's not landing today. So I have to figure out how to keep things moving until then, which I can do. This is a challenge that most people face in the construction industry. Reached out to a friend of mine. Last year, we had a little bit of financial constraint. Wasn't as intense as it is now because it was based on sales, not on finished work we had paid for, which is totally different. So finished work we've paid for equals debt, whereas sales going down is that we need to have some more activity and close some projects, but there's no debt attached to it. So anyway, when I reached out to that associate friend that's in the industry last year and asked him, like, what's the secret sauce to the success of companies that last? And he said, there isn't any. It's like, no, there has to be something I'm missing. There has to be something that I can put in place. There has to be something I can put my finger on that is the secret sauce. And he's like, there isn't any. The companies that I see survive are because they have really deep pockets. And I'm like, great, I don't have that. So I have to figure out how I'm going to get this done and how I'm going to be able to sustain my business long term, regardless of what is happening outside of the business. I haven't quite figured it out yet. I'm going to figure it out though, because I have to, because I'm committed to this, because it is my child, like my friend described, because I'm not going to let it go down without a fight, right? I'm going to stay in the fight and I'm going to keep doing what needs to be done. I'm going to keep servicing my clients, showing up for them. This thing that's happening in my business is not tied to my character, but man, does it feel like it is. This is where I'm going to get emotional. Because I show up and I do the right things and it's not happening fast enough. So the tears aren't that my child, should stop calling it my child. My tears are not that my business is dying. My tears are that, could I have been better? Could I have been smarter? Could I have worked harder? And you know what? No, I couldn't, because I've been giving it everything I have. I have been. So now I have to sit back and wait for what I've put out in the world to come back to me. This challenge and these tears are stress leaving my body. It has to go somewhere. So I'm not a heavy drinker. I am not a person who yells and screams at people. I don't break stuff. I don't do any of that. I'm a person that quietly reflects and feels deeply. The last time I had deep feelings about my business and I was talking to somebody, it was a year ago, and I was on a Zoom call and I was crying and the sun hit me just right. And she said, "You're so pretty." I was like, shut up. I don't know how this is coming off in the camera right now, but I tell you that I don't feel pretty. But when the waves of emotion pass, I get back into my logic and I'm rooted and I'm grounded and I can make better decisions. But if I hold back these emotions and I don't let them out, it is way worse for me. So thank you for bearing with me while I boohoo into my podcast microphone. Maybe you need to boohoo with me. Maybe you're facing the same thing and you're like, I've done all the right things, but why isn't it happening? And those are the stories that we love to hear about. We love to hear about the person who overcame. But what's interesting is usually people aren't sharing that story until they overcame it. So what were they going through when it was happening? They usually don't talk about it. People hide. They hide it or they bury it or I don't know what they do, but I don't see it. I don't hear about it. You hear about the victory. Like, this is the terrible place where I was and all these bad things were happening, and then they tell you all the wonderful stuff that came out of it, but unless you're really close to that person, you don't see or hear what's going on the other side. So, like I said, episode is raw. So these people haven't paid, cash flow constraints. So we have a main supplier that we've been using for 5 years. We have a great relationship with them, or so we thought. And so, aging invoices. So once they get to 30 days, you don't like that, of course, as a business owner, it gets to 30 days, but we're still, chugging through and we're helping our clients. We're making, we're paying some invoices. We're just not paying off the full balance. So think of it like a credit card that needs to be paid off on the 31 day every month. And that's how we get our supplies from the supply house. But I couldn't pay it off at day 31 because I hadn't received enough from those jobs that didn't pay. So then we roll into the next month and roll into the next month. So now I'm at day 84, which is not uncommon, and it has happened in the past. And we've been able to turn it around and met our obligations and move forward. But this time, it's been 5 years I've been working with this supply house. They turned it over to a collections attorney, even though they have been consistently receiving large payments on our aging account with them. And the attorney they turned it over to isn't just your average attorney. They are a scorch the earth and I am going to destroy your life attorney. So yesterday I received my first voicemail telling me that who they were and what they were going to, and who they were and what they wanted to do. And I needed a minute. I needed to consult with my attorney. I've never been involved in any type of collection situation. I work really hard to pay everybody on time and to have good credit. And, one of the things that I've maintained this whole time, all of my employees have been paid. All of my subcontractors have been paid. Everyone has been paid on these jobs except for the materials. And so you're like, well, how big is this bill? I'm just going to put it out there. The bill is $84,000, and that represents six or seven roofs. Not that many projects, especially when we average 4 a week. So it's 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks of materials. But because of those other people not paying, could not get caught up with taking care of that. So turned it over to the collections attorney. He starts calling. Not only does he call me, he calls everyone that's ever been associated with me. He calls my husband, he calls my daughter. He starts going down a list of calling people, leaving nasty messages. Then he also sends out a blast email. In this blast email, he sent my original credit application to the supply house that has my driver's license number, my social security number, my tax ID number, my home address, all of my personal information. He attaches it to an email. Then he, of course, attaches all the invoices. And then he emails it to me and then to every person that's ever worked for me. I'm just going to sit here and smile for a minute. How do they have permission to do that? I don't know. Also in that email was, email addresses that have my first initial on my name and then my last name. But the @ part is companies that I've never been associated with. So someone out there with C. Moreau at whatever got this too. So how does that work? So when I saw that, so I got the voicemail. Before I had a chance to do anything, the email comes out, and then a blast text message goes out. And I needed a minute to get my head around everything. I needed to reach out to my team to be like, hey, you guys, because I couldn't imagine I'm an entrepreneur, so I understand all these things that are going on behind the scenes. But if I'm an employee that is, 22 years old, I'm going to feel uneasy about whether or not I'm going to be able to pay rent because is there something going on I don't know about? So it created a level of distrust. So I reached out to my team immediately. I was like, hey guys, I know you just got this. I got this too. Been working on it. It's been an ongoing thing. This isn't, it's surprising to me just as to you, but we're going to handle it. And please keep showing up to take care of our clients. We're going to take care of each other and we're going to keep moving forward. And I know that's the truth of it. This $84,000 bill represents one project for me. Yes, it's materials for a bunch of projects, but one. I just signed a contract for a roof that is over $80,000. So in the world I live in, these numbers are big, yes, to some people, but not necessarily to me. But what is big is why do you have to burn my life down over 6 roofing projects that are aged 84 days? So I don't understand this. I don't understand how any of it works because I've never been a part of it. So maybe you're on the other side and maybe you work for a builder or you work for a supply house or whatever. So you understand what's going on that end and you understand why they're so aggressive. But so I needed to figure out what I was going to do, because now they're not only coming after me for that bill, but now there's attorney's fees and all kinds of things they've added into it. So they've increased the bill significantly. So I just sigh, because I'm like, great, like this supply house that I had this relationship with that told me they were fine and working with me, then just one day decided, nope, not anymore. We're just going to send it over to this collections attorney. But their collections attorney, just like the average collection attorney that I could work with and coming on a payment plan, this guy is like ruthless, like completely ruthless. Because today, not only did he send out the same, he called me and he was very angry that I didn't call him back yesterday, but it's because I wanted my attorney to respond, because I cannot make that phone call and still be able to show up in my life for my family, for my team, for my customers, because it will drain me so emotionally because I feel so deeply. I can't make that phone call. I know that I can't. I cannot. Can I? Sure. Can I? Will it be the right thing for me? Absolutely not. So I am not making that phone call. I want my attorney to do it. So my attorney needed a minute. She needed a minute to call. So the phone call from that collection attorney came in at 7:15 this morning. I was still in bed. So the phone call came, and not only did it come to me, but he called several clients. Then he also left a message that he is going to call the Chamber of Commerce, where I'm a board member. So I see the strategy here. The strategy is, I am going to create fear in your life, and I'm going to tell you that I'm going to burn your life down, and then I'm going to make you miserable so that I get my money. And I'm like, man, maybe that's how I should be with the clients that haven't paid me. Maybe I should hire him. I'm laughing because what else can I do? So I'm not going to hire him, because I'm not going to treat people like that. You know, like, I think I've done a job of integrity, so I think that people should pay because of that. I mean, I have placed liens on these people's properties so that I can recoup my investment that I made, for them. It's an investment. I paid for their things. So I should be able to get my money back and be paid for what I've done. And I do want to pay this supply house. I don't ever want to be in a position where I'm avoiding responsibility. I simply needed some time. So today, the email included some extra people, some people that I don't want to know what's going on in my personal life. But here I sit, and my phone is not blowing up. So I'm like, maybe they're getting this and they just deleted it. I don't know. No one's calling me to ask me about it yet. I don't know. Maybe they will. But I'm thinking that if someone Googles my name, you see, you find me, right? So and I had this thought in my head, what if he goes to my networking community? Because everyone's emails and phone numbers are on the website for my chapter. So what if he goes to that networking group and just starts going down the list talking about me? And I sat in that for a minute, because I was afraid. But then I get this message. I'm going to play it for you. It came in just this morning. And this basically is what I was thinking when I was afraid for them to reach out to people that know me.
Hello, I wanted to send you this and also didn't want to send text messages because I'm driving, but just wanted to say I really appreciate the time that we got to spend in our parking lot date getting to talk, because I'm like realizing, how busy you are, how busy I am, and how limited we are to have like those interactions. And I mean, I just got so much valuable information from you, and you're just a great person, and I know that you get, you get the same feelings we do. But it's just, you really are an inspiration, and you're doing so much. And I just wanted to give you that reminder that you're doing such a great job, and really inspired by you, and just impressed at your ability to do all the things and stay humble. So I hope, have a great rest of your week, and enjoy the weekend, and, get your time to yourself, get some treats, do all the things, your bourbons, and just get that opportunity to relax. So just want to send that to you, and hopefully we see each other soon in the next year, because I know you're busy. I know I'm busy, but looking forward to crossing paths. So take care.
I think that no one can burn down your life. No one can burn it down. You know, we joke in here, like the episode we just recorded with Joe, with Branding by Joe. She said that there's days where she wants to burn her own life down. That's a totally different thing than having somebody else want to burn your life down. And so when my attorney called today, I was thinking like that he's a scorch the earth, burn your life down kind of person. That's how he operates in his business, which is very effective for him, I'm sure. But, you know, my attorney called, had a screaming match with him because he accused her of he said, are you even a licensed attorney? That's what he said to her. So they had a screaming match. But when she called me back, she said, I have never encountered anyone like this. She had a couple choice words of how she described him, which, you know, I won't repeat. It was good to hear, I guess, in a way. But she said, yeah, he's going to try to burn it down. And so she's like, but here's the alternative. Here's what we can do. And what I can do is what I was doing anyway, which was making payments. So why? Why do we have to go through all this? It's just the same outcome. Makes no sense to me. My payments to them are going to be timed in the same exact way that they were before. There's no change. It's why do we do this in this world? I have no idea, but I just know that I'm in the midst of it. It's the first time I've been in the midst of it. And it doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm sitting back trying to be like, all right, who am I? What does this mean? And how do I move forward? And number one, I'm never going to work with that particular supplier again. And I was even thinking to myself, they're going to come back to me and ask me for my business. And then I'm going to get to say no. Because that's where I'm headed. I see the projections in my business, and that's where I'm headed. I'm going to be one of the few roofers that's continuing to make large orders and close big deals because I'm really good at what I do. I have an amazing team. My brother, my business partner, is incredible. He's an amazing craftsman, and we are sought after. People like working with us, and that's not going to change because of a scorch the earth jerk attorney is trying to burn my life down. It's not going to happen. My life is not burnable. My character is not burnable. So bring your matches. It's fine. Because messages like that is who we are. That is how we show up for everyone. That is what we project into the world. And if you're not hitting any opposition, then maybe you're not doing things right. But when it comes to our finances, a lot of shame comes in. I don't know how that is for you, but that's how it is for me. There is so much shame associated to financials, and I think 2026, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not embarrassed about what's happened. I couldn't control it. I did everything right, and these clients that decided, for whatever reason, who knows what's going on in their personal life about their finances, decided to posture in such a way that they were like, no, we're not releasing funds, we're not paying you, and they think they're justified in that. There's nothing necessarily I can do about that because I did everything right. So I guess I'm going to have to be a little bit more aggressive to collect from them to not let this happen again. I put some things in place. Like Joe was saying in her previous episode, some clients don't align. I didn't know that these clients were just the average, everyday, ordinary client. All of them were referrals, believe it or not. So referrals generally have a better trusting relationship with them. It was never on my radar. But the other thing is I have such an education now in contract law. Just so you know, if you're in the state of Florida and you're entering into a contract with the contractor has all the power. People don't know that, and that's why it's so important to choose a good one. So don't think that you have the power because you have none. So if you have installed products on your home that you're receiving benefit from, that you decided not to make payment on, they can lien your house and then take you to court. And if you don't have money to pay, their position goes in front of your mortgage. They will demand your house to be sold, and then that contractor will be paid first. A lot of people don't know that, but I get to learn all about it. Now, there are some nuances to all of that, and I am not an attorney, and I did do all my research online. It's not like I went to contract law school. But the little asterisks that I've learned about that. Other silver lining is I'm at a new level now. Like I just leveled up in the last 48 hours. It was the fastest level up I've ever had. Now, did my bank account level up? No. But I tell you what did level up is my tenacity and my grit. Because I'm like, yeah, come after my baby and try to make it suffer. It's not happening. It's not happening. This doesn't change how we price our jobs. It doesn't change how we show up. It doesn't change anything. But when he started to call clients, oh no, you think saying he's going to call the Chamber of Commerce, saying he's going to call this person, that person, because I have operated with integrity. If he calls anyone, I feel so confident that they're going to be like, screw you, and hang up on him. They're not going to believe anything that he's saying. He got on the phone with my husband. My husband accidentally answered the phone this morning. I told him, I'm like, hey, listen, if you get any phone calls from numbers you don't recognize, just ignore it. He knew what was going on, but he was driving. He was distracted. It was a local number. How is that possible? No idea, because the guy's office isn't in the state of Florida. It's a local number, so he answered it, and the guy starts berating him, telling him he's going to burn his life down, destroy his personal credit, personally sue him. Who does he think we are? And it is a big number, but it's not that big. Like I could go and pull money from here from my personal side and just give it to them. But now it's a freaking matter of principle. And I'm not commingling funds, which if you are a business owner, you shouldn't do that. You should have a firewall between your personal funds and your business funds, because if you break that wall, there's all kinds of things that can happen to you if you get into a legal situation. So I don't commingle funds. So yes, my personal life could lend my business life, and we could sign a little, like credit line or whatever to be paid back in interest, blah, 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 blah. But by the time I do all of that internally, I'm going to make a payment. And that's exactly what I was doing before. So what have I learned? How am I going to wrap this up and sum this up? If you're going through a difficult time in your business financially, other people have gone through it too, and there is no reason to feel shameful. But when you talk about it, people are going to give you that face back, because if it's happening to me, it basically just means it's going to maybe happen to you. But I believe that shame grows in silence. So I'm talking about it. I am not going to be ashamed of what's happening with my business, because I'm not going into a dark room of emotion. I'm not going to crawl up under my blanket, pull it over my head, and be afraid to come out. I'm not going to let it control me, and I'm going to shine the light on what's happening here so that it'll help other people. And then the other thing is that when people are coming at me sideways, I still get to choose integrity. So I didn't call that man because I wanted my attorney to handle it. I knew I couldn't manage my emotions in that phone call because it would bring up so much. But it also could mean I flipped a switch and just started fighting back with him. And I don't want to match his energy. I don't want to defend myself to someone who's acting in bad faith. I don't want to get into that. I want to stand tall and be rooted in the truth of who I am and how I show up in the world. The other thing is that fear doesn't mean you're not qualified. Fear means you're stepping into a new level of responsibility. It's data. It's solely data, not your identity. Leadership isn't about never being shaken. It's about rising when you are. So there's no version of leadership where you never get knocked off your balance. So yesterday I got a hit, and then today I got a hit and it knocked me off my balance, but it did not knock me out. There is a version of me and of you that's going to come back stronger. So in the midst of all of this, something that helped ground me is that I asked myself, where or what is the truth here? I paused. So there's overwhelm, there's threats, there's panic, but what's the truth here? So I went to that, not the fear, not the story in my head, not the worst case scenario. I went to the truth. And this is the truth. The truth was, we've acted with integrity. We've followed the law and proper procedures. We've communicated clearly and consistently. we're actively paying what we owe. This attorney's behavior is about them, not me. And when I found the truth, my nervous system exhaled. Now, it ramped back up again, but it's an ongoing, living, breathing thing. So now I'm going to choose, as I wrap up this podcast and walk out of this recording studio at Umber Media, I'm going to choose courage over panic, truth over shame, integrity over intimidation, and leadership over fear. And I'm going to choose to keep building, keep leading, keep choosing to trust myself, even in this fire. Because leadership does not exempt me from struggle. It doesn't exempt you from struggle. Leadership equips us to walk through the struggles in a different way. And one of the last silver linings that I want to talk about is that yesterday I had a networking luncheon that I went to. It was all women. And after it ended, we were having a little conversation in the parking lot. And the three women that stood there with me were like, what's going on? Share with us what's going on. And so I started to share and tell them, and they were having big reactions just right there with me. Like, what? Why are they doing this? And they sent your personal information to who? And how can they do? And all of those things, that the feedback they were giving me. And then it shifted to them saying, that's not true. That's not who you are. You're doing all the right things. They started rallying around me and giving me the truth I needed to hear in that moment. And then, I go home, finish up my day, and into the evening, I'm getting text messages from them like, hey, how are you doing? How did your day end? How did it work out? And then even this morning, I got text messages. Hey, how was your night? How did you sleep? How are you feeling? How did it work out? I'm here for you. Let me know if you need anything. So time and time again, we talk about how we're building this community of Wonder Women and how important it is to have women entrepreneurs in your corner, or just entrepreneurs in general in your corner, spurring you on, helping you, giving you that feedback. I had people I could call. I had a close friend who's an ex-collections attorney. I was able to call her. She was able to tell me from this side, her side of the table, what would usually be happening, so how I should respond on my side of the table. I was able to call, my attorney, and you guys know who she is. I was able to call Brooke and say, hey, this is what I'm going through. And then Kathy, who's been on the podcast, and Jamie, who's been on the podcast, and Angie, who's been on the podcast. The reason why those women were the first guests that I brought to this community is because these women are the real deal. They are the real ones that show up in my life over and over again. And I'm sure we'll get to the place in this podcast where I'm bringing women in that aren't in my sphere of influence, or aren't people that I see on a daily basis. They're not people that I necessarily run with in the entrepreneur journey. But I'm excited to bring someone in February that will be able to share with us who those women are in her life, because it's a reoccurring theme over and over again. We just can't do this alone. So where is fear telling you a story that isn't true? Where is shame keeping you quiet? And what would you shift if you brought it into the light? Share your thoughts and your win of the week on Instagram, and tag at Wonder Women Who Build so we can celebrate, encourage, and support one another. Thank you for being here and for listening to this vulnerable episode of Wonder Women Who Build. Thank you for listening to me cry and get all snotty. Because leadership isn't always pretty and is certainly not always comfortable, but it is always an invitation to rise. So if this episode spoke to you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another woman who might need to hear it today. Until next time, keep building with intention, leading with courage, and holding firm to the truth of who you are.